So just going off that same question again.
Ask me the question again.
Just tell me about Grandpa's time in the military. When did he join? What was his job?
Well, a little back history kind of. He was in high school when World War II started. He graduated high school in 1943. I know when he enlisted, along with a lot of other his classmates, he wanted to go into the Army Air Force. His brother, Carl, was in the Army Air Force. His other older brother had already enlisted and was going in, but he was just in the regular Army. But anyhow, he had enlisted in the Civil Air Patrol and was in that, and I mean, because they had such a vast number of people enlisting all the time, it was a slow call-up, and he had put in for the cadet aviation program, so he wanted to be a pilot. When he finally went through basic training, and while my understanding is while he was in basic training and getting ready for the cadet pilot program, he had marked on his application that he had stuttered when he was a child, and his story was always that they called him in. They gave him this great big long word that he had never heard before, and of course, as he says, he stuttered trying to pronounce it. And they told him, sorry, as a pilot, you've got to be able to call things out quickly, you can't stutter, so we can't make you a pilot. So they made him a gunner on bombers instead, which was basically doing the same thing, which in a way is what he thought. But going off the cadet pilot program, the other people that were with him at that time that got into the program, he got kicked out, went through aerial gunnery training to be a gunner on B-24s, went train up with his crew and everything, flew over to Europe, caught the tail end about the last 4 months, I believe, of World War II, came back, and the cadets that were in the program that he would have been in were still waiting to go through pilot training when he came back. So, and also the kind of other thing to kind of go along with that, out of his 4 brothers who all enlisted, one Army Air Force, Army, and his youngest brother joined the Marines. Out of all 4, he was the only one that saw combat out of all of them. So, continuing on with what he did, a couple different places in the States for training, got with his crew. They flew up along the coast through Nova Scotia, across the Atlantic. I'm trying to think of the islands that are out there that they landed at. The Azores, I believe. Landed there and then flew. He was in the 15th Air Force. They were based out of, how to pronounce it, Vincenzo, Italy, which is in the lower half of the boot. And most of his missions, I think he flew about 15 missions. I'd have to look at his calendar. Most of his missions were in the Austria, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia area and everything. So went through, like I said, caught the last couple months of World War II. War ended. He flew back. One of his other fun stories was they got stuck in Nova Scotia. A whole bunch of, as everybody was flying back, weather was bad and everything, but they had everybody out there doing roll call and everything, and as he was sitting there, he heard a name that he knew from Worcester, and so they kind of got together, had a little fun time, and then went on back. The war in the Pacific was still going on. He went to Texas, where he was supposed to transition into the B-29, because that was the bomber that they were primarily using over in to bomb Japan. And before he even got to training, the war was over, and he mustered out on November 27th, 1945.
Did he win?
Which I thought was very funny because that was my birthday. Quite a few years later, of course. But.
Did he win any, or like receive any honors, any awards while he was in?
The highest award he got was the Air Medal. for the missions that he flew. Everything else was the standard, good conduct, European theater, U.S. theater. Trying to think, he's got 6 total, but so.
What does the Air Medal stand for?
It's just a medal that is awarded for aerial, I don't want to say, aerial combat. It can either be for achievement or for service, or it can be given for heroism type things. So, and it is up there. If you ever look on the list of all the medals, the Air Medal is up there fairly high.
Okay.
So.
That's enough for the first segment then.